Hey guys, tonight we are traveling back nearly 3,500 years to a world built of sandstone, gold, and absolute power. Imagine the Egyptian sun, a relentless, molten disk in a sapphire sky, baking the earth until the air itself seems to shimmer. You're standing in the heart of Thebes, the greatest city in the world, a bustling metropolis of priests, soldiers, and artisans on the banks of the life-giving Nile. The dust of the desert mixes with the sweet scent of lotus blossoms and the sharp tang of temple incense. You probably wouldn't survive this, by the way. Not with the rampant diseases, the questionable medical practices, let's just say honey and crocodile dung, where legitimate prescriptions and the casual political backstabbing. It's a tough crowd. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And for fun, post your location and what time it is where you are. It's always cool to see where everyone is tuning in from. Now, dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You don't know this world yet. For you, the world is a gentle rocking, the soft whisper of linen, and the muted sounds of a palace at work. You've just been born, a princess of the mighty 18th dynasty, the wealthiest and most powerful line of rulers Egypt has ever known. Your name is Your father is the reigning Pharaoh, Thutmose I, a formidable warrior king who has pushed Egypt's borders further than ever before. Your mother is his great royal wife, Queen Hatshepsut, a woman of impeccable royal lineage. Your arrival is a celebrated event, but in a world where infant mortality is tragically common, every breath you take for the first few years is watched with a mixture of hope and anxiety. There are no baby monitors here. Hustagaber, present hum of servants and the watchful eyes of your mother's handmaidens, who whisper protective spells to keep evil spirits at bay. Your earliest memories are a collage of sensory experiences. You feel the coolness of polished limestone floors under your tiny, toddling feet. You see the vibrant colors of the frescoes painted on your nursery walls. By scenes of bountiful hunts, serene, gods, and the lush reeds along the Nile. You smell the fragrant oils used to soften your skin and the heady aroma of roasting meats and freshly baked bread drifting from the palace kitchens. Your world is one of unparalleled luxury. You are dressed in the finest, lightest linen, a stark white against your sun-kissed skin. As a child of royalty, your head is shaved except for one long, braided lock of hair that falls to your shoulder. The traditional side lock of youth, a symbol of your childhood that you'll wear until you come of age. It's a practical fashion statement, really. Keeps the lice away, which is a definite plus in any Bronze Age civilization. You live within the sprawling palace complex at Thebes, a city bursting with life and the spoils of war. Your father's successful military campaigns have brought unimaginable wealth back to Egypt. Gold from Nubia, cedar from Lebanon, exotic animals, and tribute from conquered lands all flow into the royal treasury. This is the New Kingdom, a period of Egyptian history defined by its strength, stability, and imperial ambition. The shame of the foreign Hyksos rulers, who were expelled a few generations before you, has been replaced by a fierce, almost arrogant, national pride. You were born at the absolute zenith of this golden age. As a princess, you are given a thorough education. You learn to read and write the complex hieroglyphic script, a skill not afforded to most Egyptians. You study religion, mathematics, and history. You watch your father hold court, a living god on earth, dispensing justice and receiving emissaries from faraway lands. You absorb the intricate dance of power, the subtle hierarchies, and the unspoken rules of the royal court. It's a lot to take in for a child, especially when your family tree looks less like a tree and more like a tightly woven wreath. Royal siblings often married each other to keep the divine bloodline pure, a practice that made for some very confusing family. Historians still argue whether your father's claim to the throne was solidified primarily through his marriage to your mother, Amos, whose own lineage was considered exceptionally pure. If so, that makes you, their daughter, a vessel of divine legitimacy, a direct link to the gods and the royal ancestors. This fact, this purity of blood, will become one of the most important assets you possess. But for now, you are just a child, unaware of the incredible destiny that awaits you. A princess, playing in the sun-drenched courtyards of Thebes, the sidelock of youth, that single braid you've worn your entire life, is ceremonially shaved from your head. You are no longer a child. As you blossom into a young woman within the perfumed halls of the Theban palace, your father, the mighty Thutmose, the first, sees in you not just a daughter, but a reflection of the divine legitimacy he so carefully cherished. He makes a decision that will alter the entire trajectory of your life, setting you on a path of unprecedented influence. He names you the Hemnadirin among the gods, wife of Ammon. Now, this Iasin Disomikwan honorary title, it's not like being named the ceremonial patron of a local charity. This is one of the most powerful religious and political offices a woman can hold in all of Egypt. It makes you the spiritual consort to the king of the gods, Amenra, whose cult is the wealthiest and most influential in the entire empire. You move through a new world now, the world of the temple. You leave the sun-drenched courtyards of your childhood behind for the cool, echoing darkness of the great temple of Amen at Karnak. Imagine walking into this sacred space. The scale is designed to make you feel small, insignificant before the gods. Massive pillars, carved to look like bundles of papyrus reeds, soar into the shadows, their surfaces covered in a kaleidoscope of painted reliefs. The air is thick, almost heavy, with the scent of burning incense, a mix of frankincense and myrrh that clings to your linen robes. The only light filters down from small openings high in the ceiling, cutting through the haze and golden shafts, illuminating dust motes that dance like tiny, sacred spirits. Deep within this stone forest, you hear the low, rhythmic chanting of the lector priests. Their voice is a hypnotic drone that seems to vibrate in your very bones. As the god's wife, you are the chief priestess. Your primary role is to assist the high priest during important religious festivals. You are the one who shakes the sistrum, a sacred rattle made of bronze or gold, its jingling sound believed to soothe the gods and ward off evil. During grand processions, when the golden statue of Amun is carried from its sanctuary, you walk at the forefront, a living link between the divine and the mortal. But your power extends far beyond ceremony. The position comes with a staggering amount of economic independence. You are granted your own estates, vast tracts of fertile farmland along the Nile, complete with farmers, servants, and administrators who answer directly to you. This gives you your own personal income, a stream of wealth, grain, cattle, wine, and gold that is entirely separate from the royal treasury. You're essentially the divinely appointed CEO of a massive religious conglomerate, and business is booming. Historians still argue whether your father's decision to grant you this title was a purely pious act or a shrewd political move. Perhaps he recognized your intelligence and ambition and wanted to give you a legitimate power base, one that couldn't be easily stripped away by a future pharaoh or a jealous court official. It ensured you would be a major player in Thebes, regardless of who you married or which of your brothers eventually took the throne. You are at the very heart of the state's religious ideology. The god's wife played a key role in the mythology of the divine birth of kings, a belief that the god Amun himself would visit the queen to conceive the royal heir. By holding this office, you become an indispensable part of the machinery that legitimizes pharaonic power itself. It's a quirky and deeply intimate aspect of the role, being the earthly partner to a god. You learn to navigate the intricate and sometimes dangerous politics of the priesthood of Amunet, a fraternity of powerful men who control a significant portion of Egypt's wealth. It's your first real taste of managing power, of bending others to your will, not through force, but through influence, piety, and the sheer weight of your divine office. It's a masterclass in governance, and you are a very, very quick study. Your position as the god's wife of Amun gives you a taste of real autonomy. But the gears of the dynasty are always turning, and they turn toward succession. Your father, the great warrior Thutmose, the first, eventually follows his ancestors into the golden embrace of the afterlife. His death sends a ripple through the court. The question of who will rule Egypt now hangs heavy in the incense-laden air. The answer, as is so often the case, is found not in love, but in lineage. The designated heir is your half-brother, also named Thutmose. But there's a slight problem with his resume. He's the son of your father, and one of his secondary wives, a woman named Mut. His royal blood is strong, but it isn't the purest. You, on the other hand, are the daughter of both the Pharaoh and his great royal wife, Queen Hatshepsut. Your bloodline is impeccable, a direct, undiluted stream of divinity. The solution is as ancient as the pyramids themselves. You will marry him, and so, you become the great royal wife, the Pharaoh Thutmose II. This is less a romantic union and more of a critical political merger. By marrying you, your half-brother instantly shores up his claim to the throne. Your legitimacy becomes his legitimacy. Any whispers about his less-than-perfect lineage are silenced by the undeniable prestige of your presence at his side. The wedding itself is a grand affair, a public spectacle of unity and divine approval. You are adorned in jewels of lapis lazuli, carnelian, and gold. Your ceremonial wig, heavy with fragrant cones of scented wax that melt slowly in the heat, anointing you with perfume throughout the day. You stand beside your new husband, performing the sacred rites that bind you together and confirm his status as the living embodiment of the god Horus. It must be a strange feeling, standing so close to a man who is both your king and the boy you probably squabbled with over toys in the palace nursery. Ancient Egyptian family reunions must have been an absolute minefield. Your titles multiply. You are no longer just a princess or the god's wife. You are now the Hatshepsut, the great royal wife. You are the highest-ranking woman in the most powerful nation on earth. Your days are a whirlwind of prescribed duties. You managed the vast royal household, an enormous and complex institution that includes not just the palace and its servants, but also workshops, agricultural estates, and the royal harem, which was less a collection of concubines and more a powerful economic and social engine for the wives and children of the king. You advise your husband on matters of state and religion, your counsel carrying immense weight due to your divine blood and your office as God's wife. You are the feminine counterpart to his masculine rule, representing the goddess Hathor to his Horus, maintaining the cosmic balance, or Mat, that ensures Egypt's prosperity. Your husband, Thutmose, too, is not the towering military figure your father was. The historical record depicts him as a far less robust man. In fact, when his mummy was unwrapped in the 19th century, it revealed a man with a skin disease, thinning hair and a fragile build, suggesting he may have been sickly for much of his life. This is a quirky, humanizing detail, often lost in the grand narratives of pharaohs. He reigns for a relatively short time, perhaps only a few years, though the exact length is debated. During his reign, he sends military expeditions to quell minor rebellions in Nubia and the Levant, but these seem more like routine policing actions than the grand conquests of his father. Historians still argue whether you were the true power behind the throne during his reign, with his apparent ill health and your own formidable intelligence and powerful titles. It's entirely plausible that you were already handling many of the practical duties of a ruler, learning the craft of kingship from the co-pilot's seat. You were, after all, better connected to the powerful Theban priesthood of Amun than he was. During this time, you give birth to a daughter, a beautiful girl you name Nephri. Her arrival is celebrated, another princess to carry on the sacred bloodline. But there is an unspoken pressure that hangs over every royal couple. The need for a male heir, a son who can seamlessly inherit the throne. As Thutmose, health continues to be a concern. The lack of a son becomes a growing political liability. But for now, you fulfill your duties as queen with grace and precision, a pillar of stability and divine authority at the very center of the Egyptian universe. The inevitable happens sooner than anyone expects. The sickly pharaoh, your husband and half-brother Thutmose, too, succumbs to his ailments and joins the eternal journey through the underworld. The official mourning period is a grand, somber spectacle. The air in the palace is thick with the scent of natron and linen from the embalmers' workshops, and the sound of professional mourners wailing echoes through the halls. But beneath the veneer of ritualized grief, a current of genuine political anxiety runs through the court. Egypt has a new pharaoh, but he is a mere toddler, a boy named Thutmose III, the son of your late husband and a lesser wife from the harem named Hatshepsut. He is the king, there is no doubt, but he can barely walk, let alone command an army or dispense divine justice. A kingdom without a strong hand at the helm is a vulnerable kingdom, an invitation for internal rivals and foreign enemies to test its strength. In this moment of potential crisis, all eyes turn to you. You are the Dowager Queen, the great royal wife of the departed king. You are the goddess wife of Ammon, a title that still commands immense religious authority. And most importantly, you carry the purest royal blood in the land. There is no one else with the legitimacy or the experience to guide the nation. And so, you step into the vacuum. You become Queen Regent, the official ruler of Egypt on behalf of your young stepson. This isn't a shocking power grab. It's the logical, traditional solution. Other queens had served as regents before, steering the ship of state until their sons came of age. It is your duty responsibility to the gods and to the people of Egypt to maintain the cosmic order. At first, you perform the role of regent flawlessly, adhering to all the established protocols. In official art and inscriptions, you are depicted as the dutiful, supportive aunt and stepmother. You stand behind the small figure of Thutmose III, your hand protectively on his shoulder. He is always shown as the central figure, the one wearing the crowns of Upper and Lower Egypt, holding the crook and flail, the symbols of kingship. You are visually represented as his subordinate, the loyal guardian of his throne. You ensure his education continues, that he is trained in the ways of a pharaoh, learning to hunt, to lead, and to perform the sacred rituals. To the outside world, everything is as it should be. But in the private throne rooms and council chambers, the reality is quite different. The boy king may sit on the throne during audiences, his little feet dangling high above the floor. But it is your voice that fills the room. It is you who listens to the reports from your vizier, the grizzled generals, and the high priests. It is you who makes the decisions, who signs the decrees, who dispatches the orders. You quickly prove to be an exceptionally capable administrator. You don't just maintain the status quo, you actively govern. You manage the vast bureaucracy of the state with a deft hand, ensuring the grain stores are full, the taxes are collected, and the ambitious building projects started by your father continue without interruption. You cultivate a network of loyal officials, men of talent and ambition, who recognize that their own fortunes are now tied to yours. You are, in every meaningful sense, the ruler of Egypt. You just don't have the title. Historians still argue whether your initial actions as regent were a loyal fulfillment of duty, or the first calculated steps in a grander ambition. Were you simply protecting your stepson, esse inheritance, or were you methodically building a power base for your own eventual ascension? For a few years, you walk this delicate political tightrope. It's a strange and unprecedented situation. A quirk of this era is how you begin to use royal titles that subtly blur the lines of authority, referring to yourself with phrases that edged closer and closer to full pharaonic power. You are the regent, but you are also the daughter of a king, the wife of a king, and now the mother in a political sense of another. You hold all the cards, and as the years pass, and as you prove yourself a more than competent ruler, the idea of simply handing over the reins of power when the boy becomes a man must begin to seem less like a duty and more like a demand. Several years pass in this delicate dance of power. You are the de facto ruler of the two lands, your authority unquestioned, your administration efficient and prosperous. The grain silos are overflowing, the borders are secure, and the great temples are enriched by your patronage. Yet, every time you appear in public, you must stand behind your stepson, the boy king Thutmose III. He grows taller each year, a constant, living reminder that your power, in theory, has an expiration date. The title of regent begins to feel less like a robe of state and more like a costume that is growing too tight. It no longer reflects the reality of your position. You are the king, in all but name, and you begin to wonder, why not the name as well? This is the moment your story pivots from remarkable to utterly unprecedented. You make a decision that will echo through eternity, an act of such audacious ambition that it defies all tradition. You will no longer be the regent for a boy. You will be the king. Not a queen with kingly powers, but a true pharaoh. It's the ultimate glass ceiling, made of several thousand tons of sandstone tradition, and you're about to shatter it with a well-aimed scepter. Historians still argue about the precise moment or singular event that triggered your decision. Was there a specific crisis? A threat from a rival court faction that forced your hand? Or was it a gradual realization, a slow-burning ambition that finally reached its flashpoint? Whatever the catalyst, around the 7th year of your regency, you set the plan in motion. You know that you cannot simply declare yourself king. Power in Egypt doesn't come from force alone. It flows from the gods. Your legitimacy must be divine, absolute, and publicly affirmed. So you orchestrate a miracle. You lean on your deep connections with the powerful priesthood of Amun, the very men you've cultivated since you were a young woman holding the title of God's wife. During the Grand Opet Festival, a massive public celebration, the sacred bark carrying the golden statue of the god Amun-Ra is being paraded through the streets of Thebes. As the procession moves through the cheering crowds, the priests carrying the heavy shrines suddenly divert from their prescribed path. They carry the god straight towards you. As you fall to your knees in pious reverence, the statue, a solid gold idol animated by the priests concealed within its structure, bows before you. The oracle of Amun, the king of the gods himself, has chosen you. It's a masterful piece of political theater, a divinely sanctioned coup that no one can dare question. The coronation that follows is unlike any other. You walk into the hallowed sanctuary of the temple as a dowager queen, and you will emerge as a king. The high priest anoints you with sacred oils, the scent of lotus and myrrh filling the air. He recites the ancient coronation liturgies, the words of power that have enthroned pharaohs for 1,000 years. And then comes the regalia. They bring forth the puissant, the double crown of Upper and Lower Egypt, a heavy combination of the white crown of the south and the red crown of the north. As it is lowered onto your head, you feel its physical weight, a potent symbol of the burden of the entire nation you now carry. They place the crook and the flail in your hands, the shepherd's tools that represent the king's duty to both guide and discipline his people. You are given a new identity, a full 5-part royal titulary. Just like any male pharaoh, you are Horus, the living god. But the most important of your new names is your throne name. It means truth is the soul of Ra. It's a name brimming with purpose, a public declaration that your reign will be one of justice, order, and divine balance. But what of the boy, Thutmose III? In a move of brilliant political calculation, you don't cast him aside, imprison him, or arrange a convenient accident, the usual fate of rivals in other ancient courts. Instead, you make him your junior co-regent. He remains a king in title, but he is now unequivocally the second in command. He is tasked with leading Egypt's armies, a role that keeps him busy, far from the political heart of Thebes, and allows him to build his own formidable reputation without directly challenging yours. It's a solution that preserves the legitimate line of succession while cementing your absolute authority. You have done the impossible. You are Hatshepsut, the king. You have the double crown on your head and the throne, name Motker on your lips. The oracle of Amun has given you a divine endorsement, a public spectacle that silenced any immediate opposition. But you are far too intelligent to believe that a single, dramatic miracle is enough to secure your reign. Tradition is a current as powerful and relentless as the Nile's annual flood. For centuries, the king of Egypt has been the earthly embodiment of the male god Horus. Every story, every ritual, every carving on every temple wall reinforces this masculine ideal of kingship. You, a woman, are a radical disruption to that cosmic order. You need more than just a claim to power. You need an origin story, so divine, so irrefutable, that your gender becomes an irrelevant footnote. You need a propaganda campaign for the ages. So you commission one. You decide to tell the world not just that the gods want you to be king, but that you were quite literally born to be king. Conceived for the very purpose of ruling Egypt. The medium for this grand narrative will be the gleaming white limestone walls of your magnificent new mortuary temple. A stunning, terraced structure that you are building at a place called Deir el-Bahari, nestled against the golden cliffs on the west bank of the Nile. Here, in a series of beautifully carved and painted reliefs, you will lay out the story of your divine birth for all of eternity to witness. It's the ancient world's equivalent of a multimedia biography, and it is a work of pure genius. Imagine you are an Egyptian priest walking along the portico of this new temple. You trace the story with your finger. It begins in the heavens, with the king of the gods, Amun-Ra himself, assembling the other deities. He announces his grand plan. He will descend to earth to father a child who will rule over the two lands with wisdom and strength. His chosen vessel for this divine birth, your mother, the beautiful and pure-blooded Queen Amos. The next scene shows the god of wisdom, the ibis-headed Thoth, appearing before your mother to announce the glorious future that awaits her. Then comes the central, most delicate part of the story. The artists depicted it with reverence and skill. The great god, Amun-Ra, takes on the physical appearance of your earthly father, Pharaoh Thutmose. He is led into the queen's bedchamber, filling the room with the intoxicating scent of the divine, a perfume said to be like that of the fabled land of Punt. He doesn't force himself upon her. Instead, he gently awakens her with his divine fragrance. He then holds the Ankh, the hieroglyph for life, to her nose, and she conceives you from his divine breath. It's an immaculate conception, Egyptian style, a masterpiece of theology that establishes your divine parentage without disrespecting your mortal one. The story continues. Amun-Ra then seeks out Khnum, the ram-headed creator god who fashions human bodies on his potter's wheel. In a scene of tender creation, Amun instructs Khnum to fashion for me, my daughter. On his wheel, Khnum molds two identical small figures from clay. One is you, Hatshepsut, and the other is your Ka, your spiritual double. This is a quirky, wonderful, detailed idea of being divinely handcrafted by a god with a pottery wheel. The goddess of childbirth, Hecate, holds the Ankh to the clay figures, breathing life into them. When the time comes, your mother is led to the birthing room by the gods themselves. Your birth is miraculous and celebrated throughout the heavens. The final scenes show you as a beautiful infant, being held and suckled by goddesses, before being presented to your true, divine father, Amun-Ra. He holds you, his daughter, in his arms and proclaims your destiny to the entire pantheon of gods. This is the ultimate celestial take your daughter to work day, and it solidifies your divine resume. Historians still argue about how the general populace perceived this story. Did the average farmer or artisan believe this tale literally, as a factual account of your birth? Or was it understood, at least by the educated elite, as a powerful and necessary allegory, a theological justification for a political reality? Either way, its effect was profound. Your story was now carved in stone at one of the most sacred sites in Thebes. It completely reframed your reign. You are no longer Hatshepsut, the woman who took a man's throne. You were Motker, the divine daughter of Amun, fulfilling the destiny that the king of the gods had planned for you before you were even born. Your rule was not an act of personal ambition. It was an act of filial piety. You are Motker, the divine daughter of Amun, the king of Upper and Lower Egypt. Your origin story is now etched into the walls of your glorious new temple for all to see. Your power is, at last, absolute. So, what do you do with it? Your father, Thutmose I, was a warrior. He expressed his power through conquest, marching his armies into Nubia and the Near East, returning with tribute and captives. You, however, have a different vision for Egypt's greatness. Your ambition will not be measured in territory conquered, but in monuments raised. You will be a builder, a restorer, a patron of the arts on a scale that will leave the world breathless. Your legacy will be written in granite and limestone. You pour the immense wealth of the nation into an architectural program that transforms the face of Egypt. Subtlety, it must be said, was not a word in the pharaonic vocabulary. Your primary focus is on Thebes, the religious heart of your empire. On the West Bank, where the sun sets and the journey to the afterlife begins, you have already commissioned your mortuary temple at Deir el-Bahri. You call it Jizur Jisuru, the holiest of holies. It is the masterwork of your reign, a marvel of engineering and art. Imagine it. 3 vast terraces rising from the desert floor, connected by sweeping ramps, leading up to a cliff face of sheer golden rock. It's not a single, solid building like the pyramids of old, but a light, open structure of colonnaded porticos that create a stunning play of shadow and sunlight. The entire complex is aligned perfectly with the winter solstice sunrise, a testament to the skill of your royal architect, a man of genius named Senemat, who we will certainly be talking about later. The walls are covered not with scenes of war, but with the story of your divine birth and the glories of your reign. But your vision extends far beyond your own memorial. You turn your attention across the river to the east bank, to the great temple of Amen at Karnak, the most important religious site in all of Egypt. It is already a vast and ancient complex, built up by generations of pharaohs. You are determined to leave your mark on it, to honor your divine father, Amen, with gifts of unparalleled magnificence. You order the quarrying of 4 colossal obelisks from the granite mines at Aswan, hundreds of miles to the south. These are not built from blocks. Each one is a single, monolithic spear of red granite, weighing hundreds of tons. A quirky inscription you leave behind boasts that one pair was quarried in a mere 7 months, an astonishing feat of labor and logistics. That sounds suspiciously like a contractor trying to impress a client. These massive needles of stone were then loaded onto enormous barges and floated down the Nile to Thebes, where they were erected with breathtaking precision, capped with electrum, a natural alloy of gold and silver. Their tips would have caught the first and last rays of the sun, flashing like captured stars. Within the sacred precinct of Karnak, you also construct a beautiful shrine for the ceremonial bark of Amen, known today as the Red Chapel. It is built from striking red quartzite and dark diorite, its walls covered in exquisitely detailed carvings, showing you performing the rituals of kingship before the gods. You also add a new pylon, a massive gateway, to the temple, further defining the sacred processional way. Historians still argue whether your focus on building, rather than military conquest, was a strategic choice to avoid conflict as a female ruler, or a genuine reflection of a prosperous and peaceful era under your command. Your ambition isn't limited to new constructions. You present yourself as a restorer of order, a pharaoh who is healing the land. You undertake a massive restoration project across the country, repairing temples and shrines that had fallen into disrepair during the chaotic period of the Hyksos occupation generations earlier. You leave inscriptions declaring that you have restored that which was in ruins, and raised up that which was unfinished. This is more than just maintenance. It's a powerful political statement. You are the rightful ruler, the one who is re-establishing Mat and cleansing the land of the last vestiges of foreign influence. From the Delta in the north to Nubia in the south, your name is carved into the stone of renewed temples. You are not just building for the future, you are reclaiming the past, weaving your own stories seamlessly into the eternal fabric of Egyptian history. Your grand building projects are remaking the landscape of Egypt, turning Thebes into a city of unparalleled splendor. The temples gleam, the obelisks pierce the sky, and your name is carved on every monument. But your divine father, the great god Amen, desires more than just stone and gold from his homeland. He wants the exotic treasures of a far-off, almost mythical land, a place the Egyptians call Ta, Netcher, the land of the god. You know it better as Punt. This legendary land, a place of fragrant woods and exotic beasts, has been a trading partner for centuries. The contact has been sporadic, the journeys dangerous and infrequent. You decide to change that. You will not just send a few merchants on a risky venture. You will launch a full-scale royal expedition, a mission of such size and ambition that it will be spoken of for generations. The command, of course, comes directly from the Oracle of Amen. On the walls of your temple, Adira, you have the scene carved for all to see. The god speaks to you, his beloved daughter, commanding you to explore the ways to Punt, to open the roads to the Myrterices. It is a divine order, and you obey with magnificent flair. You commissioned the construction of 5 massive ships, each one over 70 feet long. These are not simple river barges, but sturdy, seagoing vessels with great, sweeping hulls and a single, vast square sail. You watch as they are built on the banks of the Nile, the air filled with the clamor of hammers, the shouts of foremen, and the scent of freshly cut cedarwood. Once completed, the expedition set sail from Thebes, a flotilla of hope and ambition heading north on the Nile. But their ultimate destination lies far to the south, down the Red Sea. Historians still argue about the exact route they took. Did they sail down to a northern port and then trek overland? Or did they use an ancient canal, a precursor to the modern Suez, that connected the Nile to the Red Sea? Either way, the journey is long and arduous, a true test of navigation and endurance. You remain in Thebes, receiving periodic updates via messenger. But in your mind, you travel with them. You imagine them leaving the familiar green ribbon of the Nile Valley behind, entering the turquoise waters of the Red Sea, a world of sharp-tasting salt and strange colorful fish. After many weeks, they arrive. The reliefs in your temple show the moment your ships land on the shores of Punt. It is a world utterly alien to the Egyptian soldiers and scribes. Instead of stone temples and mud brick houses, the people of Punt live in charming, conical huts built on stilts, accessible only by ladders. The landscape is lush and green, dotted with palm trees, and strange, wonderful myrrh trees. Your envoys are greeted by the local ruler, a chieftain named Pharaoh, and his wife, Queen Hatshepsut. The depiction of Queen Hatshepsut is a quirky and famous detail. She is shown as a woman of immense girth, with exaggerated curves and rolls of fat. A physical form that has fascinated and puzzled scholars for centuries. Was it a glandular condition, or a local standard of beauty and wealth? Whatever the reason, your artists carve her image with careful, respectful detail. This is not a mission of conquest. Your soldiers are there as an honor guard, not an invasion force. You have sent them with a wealth of Egyptian goods to trade. Beautiful jewelry, glass beads, finely woven linen, and bronze daggers. The bartering begins. The scene is one of peaceful, prosperous exchange. Your ships are loaded to the gunwales with the treasures of Punt. The primary prize is the fragrant incense, myrrh and frankincense, the sacred resins that are burned as offerings in every temple in Egypt. But your expedition doesn't just bring back dried resin. In a brilliant move, they carefully dig up 31 living myrrh trees, their root balls wrapped in baskets, and load them onto the ships. You are importing not just the product, but the means of production itself. They also acquire heaps of ebony, piles of ivory tusks, gold, cosmetic eye paint, and a veritable zoo of exotic animals. Hunting dogs, live monkeys, baboons, and even a live panther. The return journey is a triumph. The 5 ships, laden with treasure and with monkeys climbing in the rigging, sail back to Thebes. The entire city turns out to greet them. You lead the grand procession to the Temple of Ammon, presenting the bounty to your divine father. The myrrh trees are planted in the fertile soil of the temple gardens, a living, fragrant testament to your success. The expedition to Punt is the crowning achievement of your peaceful and prosperous reign. It is a perfect blend of piety, commerce, and brilliant public relations. You have obeyed the god's command. You have enriched your nation, and you have brought a piece of a divine far-off land back to the very heart of Egypt. The triumphant return from the land of Punt marks the zenith of your reign's prosperity. The treasure is tallied. The exotic myrrh trees are taking root in the sacred soil of Ammon's temple, and the stories of the strange, stilt-walking people of a faraway land are the talk of Thebes. You have brought peace, wealth, and a touch of the mythical back to Egypt. But a pharaoh's work is never done. The grand stage of international trade is one thing. The far more intricate and dangerous theater is the one you walk every day. Your own royal court. It is a world of whispering corridors, flickering lamplight, and carefully chosen words. Here, ambition is a currency, and loyalty is a commodity that must be constantly nurtured and reevaluated. You are surrounded by a cadre of powerful, intelligent, and ambitious men. There is Hatshepsut, the high priest of Ammon, the man who helps you maintain your vital connection to the gods. There is Nessie, the chancellor, who so successfully led your expedition to Punt, his prestige now higher than ever. These men are the pillars of your administration, and you have chosen them well. You reward their loyalty with titles, land, and gold, binding their success to your own. It's a delicate game you're playing, a high-stakes version of chess where all the pieces are sentient and slightly paranoid. You must balance their egos, manage their rivalries, and ensure that their ambition always serves you and never threatens you. But among all these powerful figures, one man stands apart. His name is Sina. He is not of royal blood, not even from a particularly noble family. He is a self-made man, a provincial official whose sharp mind and unwavering loyalty brought him to your attention years ago. Now, he is the most powerful man in Egypt, second only to you. His official titles are so numerous, it's as if he were collecting business cards. He is the great steward of Amun. Giving him control over the temple is of vast wealth. He is the overseer of all the royal works, making him the chief architect of your grand building program, including your masterpiece Adira. And, perhaps most significantly, he is the tutor to your only daughter, the Princess Nef. You have entrusted him with your legacy, your fortune, and your child. Your trust in him is absolute. He is your closest advisor, your most brilliant administrator, the one man who understands your vision and has the genius to execute it. But the whispers in the court, the whispers you pretend not to hear, suggest something more. Historians still argue whether Senemet was merely your most trusted courtier, or if your relationship was far more intimate, a secret love affair hidden in plain sight. There is no official record, of course. Such a thing would be unthinkable to carve onto a public monument, but the clues are there, for those who know where to look. One of the most telling pieces of evidence is a quirky, almost scandalous, bit of graffiti, though that word doesn't do it justice. In a small, hidden storage chamber of your temple, Pharaoh, there is a sketch carved into the back of a door. It shows a single figure, a man, clearly Senemet, in an embrace with a pharaoh. It's a hastily done but unmistakable carving, the ancient equivalent of a secret selfie, a private, intimate moment captured in stone, deliberately hidden from public view. Furthermore, Senemet constructed 2 tombs for himself, and in his grander, unfinished tomb, he had the ceiling decorated with a complex astronomical chart that is a near-perfect mirror of one found in your own royal tomb. It suggests a man who wanted his eternal journey through the stars to be linked with yours. He even managed to have his own image carved in a few discreet corners of your temple, a privilege no official should have ever been granted. These were not the actions of a mere subordinate. They speak of a bond that went far beyond politics. Whether he was your confidant, your lover, or simply your most devoted servant, Senemet was undeniably the central figure of your court, the man who helped you transform your ambition into an eternal legacy of stone. Your inner circle is secure. Your building projects are reshaping the nation, and your name is synonymous with prosperity. But you are acutely aware that power is not just held in throne rooms and treasury vaults. It is projected, visually, into the minds of your people. When a farmer in a dusty village thinks of the pharaoh, what does he see? For 1,000 years, the answer has been the same. A man, a strong jaw, a broad chest, a muscular frame defined by the simple, powerful lines of the royal shended kilt. The image of the king is a sacred brand, an icon of stability. And you, for all your divine parentage and political genius, do not fit the visual template. So you make another audacious decision, one that goes hand in hand with your divine birth story. If you are to be king, you must look like a king. You begin a slow, deliberate transformation of your public image. It's the most ambitious rebranding campaign in ancient history. You start with your statues. Hundreds of them are commissioned, carved from limestone, sandstone, and the beautiful red granite of Aswan, destined for every major temple in your kingdom. At first, the sculptures are a hybrid, depicting you with a slender frame and delicate features of a woman, but adorned with the full regalia of a male pharaoh, the double crown, the kilt, the kingly titles. But this halfway measure isn't enough. It's a visual contradiction. You instruct your royal artisans to go further. The statues that begin to emerge from the workshops are now fully masculine. They show you with a broad, bare chest, powerful shoulders, and the lean, muscular legs of a warrior. Your feminine form is completely erased, replaced by the idealized male physique of a pharaoh. The face remains recognizably yours, but it is stripped of its softer qualities, chiseled into a mask of serene, masculine authority. You have, in essence, created a royal avatar, a public-facing version of yourself that conforms to every expectation of kingship. The most iconic and, to modern eyes, peculiar part of this new uniform is the false beard. Let's be clear. This wasn't an attempt to fool anyone into thinking you could grow facial hair. The pharaoh's beard was never a real beard. It was a divine attribute, a ceremonial chin ornament woven from plant fibers or fashioned from gold and silver, held in place by a strap. It was long, thin, and plaited, with a distinctive curl at the end, a symbol that linked the king to the great god, Osiris, ruler of the underworld. It was an essential part of the pharaoh's costume, as indispensable as the crown. So, you wear it in your statues and reliefs. The false beard is always there, jutting from your chin, a clear, unambiguous signal of your pharaonic status. It's like a divine version of Movember. But instead of raising awareness, you're cementing absolute authority. Historians still argue whether this visual transformation was a gradual evolution or a sudden, calculated policy change enacted immediately after your coronation. But the result is undeniable. Within a few years, the official art of Egypt depicts a male king named Mak. This created a fascinating and quirky problem for your scribes. The Egyptian language has grammatical gender, just like French or Spanish. While your image was now male, your name, Hatshepsut, was grammatically feminine. In some inscriptions, you can see the scribes struggling with this. They will carve a picture of you as a muscular male king, but the hieroglyphs right next to it will use feminine pronouns, referring to His Majesty, she. It's a grammatical headache that perfectly captures the unique reality of your reign. You are not denying your womanhood in your private life within the palace. This is about public iconography. It is a pragmatic and brilliant solution to a unique political problem. You understood that, to rule effectively, you had to provide your people with the familiar symbols of power they had relied upon for centuries. You couldn't change the institution of kingship overnight, so you changed yourself to fit the institution. You put on the uniform, you wore the mask, and you played the part of the male pharaoh so convincingly that for the next 20 years, Egypt knew nothing but the peace and stability that came from the reign of a strong king. The false beard is strapped to your chin, the heavy double crown sits on your brow, and the royal kilt is tied at your waist. This transformation isn't just for your statues. It is a uniform required for your most important job. You are more than a head of state, more than a commander-in-chief. You are the high priest of every god in the Egyptian pantheon. It is you and you alone who can speak directly to the divine on behalf of 2 million souls. Every morning, as the sun's first rays strike the golden tips of your obelisks, you perform the rituals that wake the gods and ensure the sun will rise again, that the Nile will flood its banks, that the cosmic order of Mat will hold for one more day. The entire well-being of your nation rests on the successful performance of these sacred duties. While you are the theoretical head of all cults, your focus, your energy, and your devotion are directed primarily at one: the cult of your divine father, the king of gods, Omen-Ra. Your relationship with Amen is the central pillar of your reign. It is the divine contract that makes everything else possible. Remember the story you carved on the walls of your temple? He didn't just endorse you. He created you for this role. This makes your piety deeply personal. When you enter the sacred precinct of Karnak, you are not just a pharaoh entering a temple. You are a daughter visiting her father's house. You feel the chill of the stone floors through your thin leather sandals as you walk deeper into the temple's heart. The further you go, the darker and more exclusive it becomes. The vast, open courts, accessible to the public on festival days, give way to the soaring hypostyle hall, where only priests and officials may walk. Finally, you alone enter the sanctuary, the Holy of Holies, a small, dark chamber where the golden statue of the god resides in its shrine. The air here is still and thick with the scent of consecrated oils and the lingering smoke of yesterday's incense. This is the nexus of the divine and the mortal world. Here, you perform the daily ritual of opening the mouth. You anoint the statue, clothe it in fresh linen, and offer it a feast worthy of a god. This daily offering is a fascinating and quirky piece of Egyptian theology. A lavish meal of roasted meats, bread, wine, beer, and fruit is laid out before the statue. The god, being a divine spirit, doesn't actually eat the food, but instead consumes its spiritual essence. After the god has had his fill of the food soul, the physical meal is taken away and becomes the property of the high priests, who then share it among the temple staff. Think of it as the ultimate divine room service, where the guest never actually touches the food, but the hotel staff gets a fantastic meal out of it. Your service to the gods goes far beyond these daily rites. Under your rule, the religious calendar is a packed schedule of festivals. It seems like every other Tuesday is a major holiday requiring a massive parade. During the Grand Opet Festival, you lead the procession as the statue of Amun travels from Karnak to Luxor Temple to visit his wife, the goddess Mut. Thousands of people line the route, cheering, singing, and celebrating as the god passes by. These festivals are not just religious holidays. They are vital expressions of the bond between the pharaoh, the gods, and the people. And you are at the center of it all. This devotion has a very practical, earthly result. By pouring a significant portion of the state's wealth into the Temple of Amun, you transform its priesthood into the most powerful and wealthy institution in the country, a veritable state within a state. Their loyalty to you is absolute. Why wouldn't it be? You are the source of their unprecedented prosperity. Historians still argue whether your devotion was born from genuine, profound faith or from a masterful understanding of religious politics. Were you a truly pious daughter serving her divine father, or a brilliant political operator who knew that the path to absolute power ran directly through the temple gates? Perhaps the truth is that you saw no difference between the two. For you, good politics and true piety were one and the same. It's the best deal in town. You give the god a bit of incense and a new chapel, and he gives you divine right to rule the known world. Not a bad return on investment. The years glide by, smooth and predictable as the Nile's current. Your reign, the reign of King Motker, is a golden age of stability. The tributes from foreign lands arrive on schedule. The granaries are full, and the sound of chisels on stone is the ambient music of your prosperous kingdom. You have perfected the art of governance. Your court is a well-oiled machine of loyal officials. Your relationship with the priesthood of Amun is the bedrock of your power, and your divine birth story is now an accepted part of the national mythology. You have built, you have restored, you have traded, and you have brought peace. But while your attention has been focused on the sacred heart of Egypt, on the east and west banks of Thebes, a different kind of power has been growing quietly on the periphery. Your stepson, your co-regent, Thutmose III, is no longer a boy. You were the one who gave him his life's work. In a move of political savvy, you appointed him head of Egypt's armies. It was the perfect solution, a prestigious role that kept him far from the capital's intricate politics, a way for him to earn his own glory without stepping on your toes. You wanted him to have a hobby, after all. But now, the reports that reach your throne room from the military garrisons are no longer about a prince learning his trade. They are about a commander, a leader. A man forged in the harsh realities of the desert frontier, while you have been walking the cool, incense-filled halls of Karnak. He has been living in windswept army camps, breathing in the dust of the training grounds, sleeping in a tent under the stars. His world smells of horse sweat and oiled leather. Not lotus blossoms, he has grown into a formidable young man. You see it on the rare occasions. He returns to Thebes for festivals. The boy whose shoulder you once protectively held in official portraits is gone. In his place stands a man with the hard, lean physique of a soldier, his skin burnished dark by the sun. His hands are not the soft hands of a courtier, but are calloused from gripping a bowstring and the reins of a chariot. He has mastered the arts of war. You hear how he can fire arrow after arrow into a moving target from the back of a speeding chariot, a feat of incredible skill and strength. He has learned strategy from your most grizzled generals, men who fought under your own father. He has earned their respect not through his royal blood, but through his competence and his courage. The soldiers don't just obey him because he is a king. They follow him because he is one of them. He has grown into a formidable young man. You see it on the rare occasions he returns to Thebes for festivals. The boy whose shoulder you once protectively held in official portraits is gone. In his place stands a man with the hard, lean physique of a soldier, his skin burnished dark by the sun. His hands are not the soft hands of a courtier, but are calloused from gripping a bowstring in the reins of a chariot. He has mastered the arts of war. You hear how he can fire arrow after arrow into a moving target from the back of a speeding chariot, a feat of incredible skill and strength. He has learned strategy from your most grizzled generals, men who fought under your own father. He has earned their respect not through his royal blood, but through his competence and his courage. The soldiers don't just obey him because he is a king. They follow him because he is one of them. This was always the plan, you tell yourself. For Egypt to be strong, its king must be a capable military leader. He is securing the borders of your kingdom, training the army that guarantees your peace. His success is your success. And yet, you are a master of reading the subtle currents of power. You can feel the balance beginning to shift. Your power base is here, in Thebes, rooted in the priesthood, the bureaucracy, and your divine legitimacy. His power base is out there. Into this earth, a mobile force of thousands of men whose loyalty is forged in the heat of the barracks and the shared hardship of the field. Historians still argue about the true nature of your co-regency during these years. Was it a harmonious partnership, a respectful division of labor between the administrative monarch and the warrior king? Or was it a silent, tense standoff, a long waiting game? Perhaps he was content, biding his time, knowing the throne would one day be his alone. Or perhaps, as he grew into his own power, he began to resent the woman who ruled in his place. The aunt, who wore the false beard and claimed the titles that were his by birthright. There are no records of open conflict between you. Everything on the surface remains perfectly correct. A picture of dynastic stability, but the situation is inherently unstable. It's a quirky detail of physics that two objects cannot occupy the same space at the same time. The same is true of absolute power. Egypt has two kings, two living gods. For a time, you have been the sun, and he has been the moon, reflecting your light. But now, his own light is beginning to shine, and the Egyptian sky may not be big enough for two suns. The delicate balance of two suns in one sky cannot hold forever. A choice must be made. One must dim for the other to truly blaze. You are King Matker, but you are also Hatshepsut, and you are getting older. The years of absolute power have been kind, but they have not made you immortal. You feel it in the ache of your joints on cool mornings, a certain weariness that the most luxurious cushions in the palace cannot soothe. The relentless Egyptian sun that once felt like a life-giving caress now seems to sap your strength. Your court, too, is changing. Key figures from the early days of your reign, the men who helped you ascend the throne, are beginning to fade from the picture. Your brilliant steward, Sentiment, the architect of your dreams, and perhaps the keeper of your heart, simply vanishes from the records. His magnificent tomb, the one with the celestial ceiling meant to mirror yours, is left unfinished. His name is no longer mentioned. Was it a fall from grace, a quiet retirement, or did he simply predecease you? The silence in the historical record is deafening. It is your own body that stages the final, quiet rebellion. The divinity you wear like a heavy golden cloak cannot protect you from the mundane betrayals of flesh and bone. CT scans performed on your mummy thousands of years later would reveal the truth of your final years. You were a woman in your 50s, overweight, with the worn-out joints of someone who had lived a full life. But the true culprit, the assassin that no royal guard could ever stop, was hiding in your own mouth. It wasn't a rival's dagger or a conspirator's poison that brought the great King Matker low, but a throbbing, relentless pain in your jaw. An abscessed tooth, a pocket of infection raging just beneath a molar, begins to poison your entire system. In a world without antibiotics, this is a death sentence, delivered slowly and agonizingly. As the sickness takes hold, you spend more time in the cool, dim rooms of the palace, away from the public gaze. The reins of power, which you have held so tightly for 2 decades, begin to slacken. This is the moment of ultimate mystery. Historians still argue whether Thutmose III, your battle-hardened co-regent, simply waited patiently for nature to take its course, or if he applied a subtle, political pressure to hasten your decline. There is no evidence of a violent coup, no bloody struggle for the throne. He doesn't need one. He has the army, he has his youth, and he has the undeniable claim of birthright. All he has to do is wait. Perhaps he begins to take on more of the day-to-day duties, his presence in Thebes becoming more permanent, a constant, silent reminder of the future. Your end, when it comes in the 22nd year of your reign, is not on a battlefield or in a grand public ceremony. It is a quiet fading, likely in the royal apartments, surrounded by servants who can do little more than offer you cool water and whisper incantations. In these final moments, the false beard and the crowns are put away. You are just Hatshepsut again. The long, incredible journey is over. The power transition is seamless. Thutmose III, now in his early 30s, becomes the sole ruler of Egypt. There is no chaos, no civil war. He buries you with all the ceremony befitting a pharaoh. Your mummified body, adorned with jewels, is placed in the magnificent sarcophagus you prepared for yourself in your tomb, deep in the hidden Valley of the Kings. For a time, it seems your legacy is secure. The quirky, incredible footnote to your death is that for 3,000 years, you were lost. Your tomb was looted in antiquity and your mummy was moved, its identity eventually forgotten. It lay for over a century in the Cairo Museum, an anonymous royal lady. It was only in 2007 that a team of archaeologists made a stunning discovery. They had a small, gilded wooden box, a canopic box, inscribed with your name, which contained your embalmed liver. Inside that box, loose among the wrappings, was a single tooth with a broken root. They scanned the anonymous mummy, and in her upper jaw was an empty socket. The lone tooth from the box was a perfect fit. After millennia of silence, science had allowed you to be identified by a single, treacherous molar, the very thing that likely killed you. It's a case fit for CSI. Thebes, you are at peace in the perfumed darkness of your tomb in the Valley of the Kings. The world of the living moves on without you, just as it should. Your stepson, Thutmose III, now rules alone, and he proves to be everything you trained him to be and more. He becomes one of the greatest military pharaohs in all of Egyptian history, a conqueror who marches his armies as far as the Euphrates River. He expands the empire, enriches the treasury, and continues to build at Karnak, adding his own monuments next to yours. For the first 20 years after your death, he does nothing to dishonor your memory. Your statues stand in the temple courts. Your name is recited in the lists of ancestral kings. Your obelisks still catch the morning sun. Your co-regency is remembered as a time of prosperity. It seems that your place in history, your unprecedented journey from princess to king, is secure. But something changes. Perhaps it's the quiet influence of his own son, the heir apparent. Or Hatshepsut late in life turned towards a more rigid, conservative view of the world. Late in his reign, nearly 2 decades after you were laid to rest, Thutmose III gives an order. It is a quiet order, passed down not through public decree, but through the chain of command to the royal workshops. And with that order, a strange and terrible thing begins to happen. A slow, methodical, and chillingly thorough campaign of erasure. It starts at Karnak. A team of stonemasons, men whose fathers might have carved your image, arrives with copper chisels and heavy wooden mallets. They erect scaffolding against the walls of your red chapel, against the base of your towering obelisks, against the pylons you built to honor your divine father, and they begin to chip away at your existence. Imagine the sound, a rhythmic tap, tap, tap. Echoing through the sacred courts, they find your cartouche, the oval ring that contains your throne name, Motker, and with painstaking effort, they hammer it into oblivion, leaving a rough, blank space where your name once shone. They find your image, the one of you as a male king making offerings to the gods, and they carefully chisel your entire figure away, leaving a ghostly silhouette in the stone. Sometimes, they don't just erase you, they replace you. They cleverly recarve your image into that of your father, Thutmose I, or your husband, Thutmose II, creating a seamless, unbroken line of male succession, as if you had never existed at all. It is the ancient world's version of being unfriended and having all your pictures untagged, but on a monumental, national scale. This is not the work of a flash of rage. It is a state-sponsored project, carried out over many years with bureaucratic efficiency. The destruction moves to your beautiful temple at Deir el-Bahari, your magnificent statues. Hundreds of them are dragged from their niches. They're smashed into pieces, their serene, bearded faces shattered, their powerful limbs broken. The pieces are then taken and dumped into a large pit in front of the temple, a mass grave for your stone likenesses. On the walls telling the story of your divine birth, your name and figure are meticulously attacked. It is an attempt to kill your memory, to make you a ghost. Historians still argue fiercely over the motive for this posthumous persecution. The old, romantic theory is that it was an act of personal vengeance. Was this Thutmose III finally free to unleash a lifetime of resentment for the woman who kept him from his rightful throne for 20 years? It's a dramatic story, but it doesn't quite fit the timeline. Why would he wait for 2 decades to take his revenge? The more modern, and perhaps more chilling theory is that it was a cold, calculated political act. Thutmose III, now an old king, wanted to ensure his own son would inherit the throne without any complications. Your successful reign created a dangerous precedent. It proved a woman could rule as Pharaoh, and rule well. By erasing you, he wasn't just destroying your memory, he was destroying the precedent, correcting the historical record to ensure that the idea of a female king could never again take root and challenge the traditional male line of succession. It wasn't personal, it was politics. A quirky side effect of this erasure is that the workers weren't always perfect. They sometimes missed a cartouche hidden in a dark corner high on a ceiling or a feminine pronoun in a long line of text, leaving tiny breadcrumbs of your story for future eyes to find. For now, however, the silence is almost complete. You are the king who never was. For 3,000 years, you are a ghost. You lie in the silent, golden dark, your name hammered into dust, your face smashed into 1,000 pieces. The kingdom you ruled with such wisdom and strength eventually crumbles, as all empires do. New powers rise and fall. Persians, Greeks, and Romans march their armies along the banks of your sacred Nile. They stare in wonder at the great temples, but they cannot read the stories on the walls. The language of the gods is dead. Your beautiful temple, Jizajiseru, is eventually abandoned. Its lower terraces slowly buried by the patient, shifting sands of the desert until it is little more than a memory hidden beneath a dune. Your name, Hatshepsut, is utterly forgotten. In the great cosmic library of history, your book has not just been put back on the wrong shelf, it has been torn apart, its pages scattered to the wind. But time, the great destroyer, is also the great revealer. In the early 1800s, a brilliant young Frenchman named Jean-Francois Champollion stares at a slab of black stone, the Rosetta Stone, and accomplishes the impossible. He cracks the code. After 14 centuries of silence, the hieroglyphs speak again. This single act is the key that will eventually unlock your tomb, your temple, and your story. A new breed of explorer, the archaeologist, begins to dig into the sands of Egypt, searching for the secrets of the pharaohs. They uncover the ghostly silhouettes on the walls of Karnak and are puzzled. They find the empty spaces where a king's name should be. Who was this forgotten ruler, and why was his memory so violently attacked? Then, in the early 20th century, a team from New York's Metropolitan Museum of Art begins to excavate. At Deir, in front of your temple, they find the pit, a massed grave filled with thousands upon thousands of limestone and granite fragments. It is the wreckage of your statues, the ones Thutmose the Third ordered destroyed. For years, in the blistering Egyptian sun, these archaeologists undertake the world's most profound jigsaw puzzle. They wash, sort, and patiently piece the fragments together. Slowly, miraculously, you begin to re-emerge from the rubble. A piece of a powerful shoulder here, a fragment of a serene face there, a hand holding a scepter, and then the ultimate clue, a fragment of a royal kilt with the unmistakable curve of a female hip beneath it. The puzzle pieces click into place. The regent Queen Hatshepsut and the arrest king Motker were not two different people. They were one. Even then, your story was not told with the respect it deserved. For decades, early Egyptologists, products of their own patriarchal times, couldn't accept the reality of a woman who ruled so successfully. Historians still argue about the best way to interpret your reign. But for a long time, the dominant narrative was a hostile one. They cast you as a villain, a wicked, scheming stepmother who usurped the throne from the heroic Thutmose III. They saw your ambition as unnatural, your adoption of male regalia as a perverse act of vanity. They wrote your story as a cautionary tale, not a triumph. But the stones you carved do not lie. As more of your inscriptions were translated, as your peaceful and prosperous reign was contrasted with the endless wars of the men who came before and after you, the truth began to assert itself. The final, personal piece of your story fell into place just a few years ago, with the quirky, incredible identification of your mummy. Remember that single, treacherous tooth, that molar that ended your life? It also gave you back your name, allowing your physical body to be identified with certainty after millennia of anonymity. Science found the last missing page of your story. The erasure is over. The chisels have fallen silent. Your name is spoken again. Your face is restored, and your story is finally being told. You are Hatshepsut, the king who was hidden by history and found by time. And so, your long, incredible journey through the sun-drenched land of ancient Egypt finally comes to a close. The narrative of your struggles, your ambitions, and your ultimate rediscovery now softens, its sharp edges dissolving as the story fades into the quiet background of your mind. The brilliant glare of the Theban sun gives way to the gentle, cool silver of moonlight on the desert sand. The clamor of the temple workshops, the rhythmic chanting of the priests, and the whispered intrigues of the royal court all recede, leaving behind only a profound and peaceful silence. You can let go of the weight of the double crown, release the heavy responsibility of maintaining the cosmic order, and simply allow the gentle currents of approaching sleep to carry you. Think of the Nile at night, a ribbon of dark silk flowing endlessly and silently through the land, its surface reflecting the eternal, unchanging stars. Feel the last of the day's warmth radiating from the ancient stones, a comforting, steady presence. There are no more battles to be fought, no legacies to protect, no names to be carved or erased. Everything is settled, everything is calm. The grand story has been told, and now it is time for rest. Allow your breathing to deepen, to find a slow and easy rhythm, like the gentle lapping of water against the reeds of the riverbank. Every breath you take eases you further away from the waking world, deeper into the soft, welcoming stillness that awaits you. The whispers of the past have all been quieted, leaving only the soft hum of the fan, the gentle weight of your blanket, and the simple, peaceful knowledge that it is time to drift away. Sweet dreams,